Okay, this is going to be a series of videos. It's how to wire a big house. Uh, Villa Cecilia is 29 rooms, and we're done apologizing for it. I don't know how it got that way, but it is what it is. So we're going to talk about electrical for a while, and then we're going to talk about plumbing probably. Uh, there's the electric all starts from the pole, of course, unless you're totally solar. And you have a meter base. That's provided by the electric company. From the electric company into the house, you've got 3 wires. 2 in the Philippines, 3 in the rest of the world. 3 if you're north of Manila, like around Clark, because the government used the neutral wire, 110, 220. But when you get into the house, you're going to put them wires into a box. And that's where we're going to start, is at that box. This gizmo you see looking on your left looks like it's from a alien culture. That's the bottom guts of a load center. Now, you're going to put breakers on this thing. There's none on this. This is just what they hook to. And everything that's hooked up, like lights and receptacles, are all considered loads. So this common place that feeds them all is called a load center. Let's look at some of the particulars over here on the right. Okay. Hey, there we go. See these little square notches on here? 1, 2, 4 of them showing. You can have 2 kinds of breakers: snap in and bolt in. I grew up with snap in. The bolt ins were more industrial use. But they're both available to residential. You can use what you like. I like these because I can unsnap them with the power on, do wiring, and plug them right back in there. In other words, I can take them, you rock them back and they come off of these tabs here. This is your left leg and this is your right leg. Left, right, right on down. You'll notice that on the piece of stamping here that they're bent up from, they each one of them goes to every other space. So you'll have 220 volts on the breaker. At the top, you're going to have power coming in on these 2 big screws up here, here and here. That's your 220 coming in. On the left, far left of this thing, you see a whole bunch of square drive screws. That's where your green bond wires go. And if you're 110, you can take off this strap at the bottom down here, or just take a screw out of one end and let it drop down to the bottom of the box, because it's going to be grounded in one way or another. Can't hardly short out to the box to the same wire. And on the other side, you got another one of them. So if you have a split phase, like 220, 110, one of those will be all the green bond wires, and the other one will be all the white wires. Okay? Let's move on here. We'll stick with this for just a minute here. Okay. This is a General Electric 2-pole snap-in breaker. I know that it's snap-in because there's no tab sticking up here at the top for screws. This one's a 50 amp. You can't read it on the screen, but take my word for it, it's 50 amp. And you have 2 output wires that you connect your wires for 220 to. It goes out to a receptacle or a light or whatever. These ones are showing screwdriver slots, if you can see them in the picture. However, they have changed over to square drive, and when you get the thing new, it's really stuck. So I use a T-handle ratcheting screwdriver. Let's look at this one. No, that's not that. Okay, this is a miniature breaker. It takes a different kind of panel to put those in. What's this one? That's another slimline breaker. Please, people. Don't want to show me there? Hanging over. Oh, that load center piece was $122 at Home Depot. We shipped 3 of them over. We paid about $135 because we got the main breaker in the enclosure with them. This doesn't really show up well black on black. You know, you can't really read it. This is a 1 pole. THQL, that's the series that we use. I really can't read the amps on it. I don't see it written there. It's probably 15 or a 20. Most of the time it'll be written like on the handle up here as well. It is a 20. 50, 20, and something or else. Okay. Let's go back to load centers. I'm looking here for one that's not got a lot of stuff in the box, and it is in the box. We'll go back to the top and just pick one. That's got a meter base in it. Haven't we got just a simple little circuit breaker in a box? Well, that's close enough. This one is a 100 amp in a box with a cover. And you know there's a billion knockouts all the way around this thing to put wires in it. And it'll get really confused with wires. You'll be glad you have every one of them knockouts. We've solved that problem, and that'll be coming up shortly. But you see this bottom piece you were looking at before. And right here in the top, this is the main breaker. And this one is 100 amp. And this will stick out through the cover plate where you can turn the whole thing on and off. So here it is sticking out through the face plate. And these little rectangular things here, you knock them out according to whether you have breakers there or not. If you don't knock them out, no breaker there, don't worry about it. What can we talk about with these things? 8 minutes. Let's scroll down the page down here some. To your right, Arch. Yeah, now we got to make the camera go. This is what you're going to have in the Philippines. That's what they sell in the hardware store. With the exception, they left out a lot of stuff. You see, this has still got a place to put your white wires and your green wires. That won't be on the one in the Philippines store. You won't have these 2 screws up here that your main breaker bolts down onto, because they don't have main breakers in the Philippines. Now this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 breakers go, eight double breakers. One, looks like 8 double breakers goes in this one. They'll take the top left breaker over here, and they'll chuck in like a 60 amp breaker. And they'll bring the wires in, the hot wires from the utility meter, into that breaker. And it'll go in here, and it'll connect to these bars that it's snapped onto. and that makes all the other locations live off of that one breaker. So if you have an 8 breaker box, you've only got 7 usable breakers because one of them becomes the main. Oh, my wife's yelling to help in there. She's our whatever. Okay, next thing you'll notice that if you bought your box in the Philippines, this box is only 2 inches away from the top and the bottom, and 3/4 of an inch away from the edge of the breakers on the side. So you have to strip your wire and bend it, and then poke it under the screw. You can't see it while you're doing it. The best you can do on those kind of boxes, and most boxes, is 2 wires, one on either side of the screw. And because you can't see what you're going to do, and you're going to have a lot of strands of wire that are up around the tab or whatever, or some of them on the wrong side of the screw, because you just can't flat see it. And if you have 30 circuits and you've only got 7 breakers, you can guess how many wires you can put on the breakers and how many of them are left over. So at that point, you have to start. What they do in the Philippines, they bare a bunch of wires, they twist them together and wrap them in electrical tape. We don't do that. Your next step up with a lot of wires is a split bolt. That's a copper bolt that's split down the middle, got a nut and a slot down the middle, and you put all your wires in there, and you slide a little T-shaped piece in from the end. You tighten like a 9/16 bolt, and it smashes them all together. It makes a really good connection. And then you wrap it with splicing compound. I think they sometimes call it rubber tape in the Philippines. And that is a soft vulcanizing, room temperature vulcanizing thing. So that'll sort of all melt together. You got to take it apart. You got to cut it apart and peel it off. You can't unwind it. And then you wrap that with a electrical tape, which you can take off if you want to. But anyway, the first problem you run into is you got a box that you can't see what you're doing when you putting the wires in the breakers, and you haven't got the ground and neutral terminal bars. If you look around, I just bought them from China. But if you look around, you can find some places that will sell them in hardware stores as a kit. And you have to have someplace to land those wires. So you stick that down here in the bottom of the box someplace, and then you run every green wire that comes into the box into that bar. One you got like 12 or 15 holes. You can put twice that. You can put two wires under every screw, and it won't be crowded. You can see what you're doing. So you can put like 30 wires on that one. And then if you have a neutral wire over here, you can do the same thing. These have to be, one of them has to be on plastic standoffs unless you want them all connected together. Okay, so that's enough about the box. We're going to end this video, and we're going to pick it up on some other part of this thing. Okay.